Hello and welcome to the Printable Cuttable Creatables YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted, across all of the socials, and today I am going to share a fun fold card called a Joy Fold. I've already printed out some amazing digital papers from PCC, and the way that I like to print is the designs are actually designed to be 6x6. But I like to print out a full 8.5 by 11 because if I'm going to print it, I may as well get as much pattern paper as I can. So what I actually do is I will actually tile the 6x6 across the 8.5 by 11 inch paper. That way I don't actually scale up the size of the print, because the other option that you could do is you could actually set your printer to fill the page. It's one of the options, and what that will do is it'll actually scale, it'll stretch and scale the 6x6, which is a square, in order to fill out this entire rectangle. So it's actually going to stretch it to be 11 by 11. But because the paper is only 8.5 by 11, you'll lose a couple inches off of, the top and bottom. So that's why I rather kind of repeat and tile it as opposed to scaling it up. Now these two cuties are digis from PCC as well. We have Santa Claus and Cute Mrs. Claus. They are available as a layered cut file if you were to make them into a vinyl project, or even cut out the various different layers and create a more dimensional cardstock. But I actually printed out the PNG as just a flat image because I wanted to, originally I was thinking I would actually fussy cut them out, but I used a die to cut out the images. Now, the Joyfold card is really easy. Mine's going to be A2, and all you need to do to start your Joyfold is cut the front of your card. I just cut the front of my card in half. So this originally was 5.5 inches, and I cut it at 2 3/4. And with the Joyfold, you can do it in any orientation you want. It can be landscape or portrait. But the next thing you'll need is what I call a mini card. That can be whatever size that you'd like. It just needs to be smaller than your card base. So my card base is A2, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5. And because I took a die to cut out the Santa and Mrs. Claus images, I had a nested shape die. And I just took one size up and cut that out of craft cardstock. And that is what determined the size of my mini card. So my mini card happens to be 3 1/8 wide by 4 3/8 tall, folded. So that's just what I chose to work with. You can make a mini card whatever size you'd like, just depending on visually what you find aesthetically pleasing to your eyes. But basically what happens is you have this double opening. And it's really nice because it gives you a lot of space to decorate and a lot of opportunities to reveal different messages, different images as you open the card up. And as I mentioned, this can be, a landscape side folding card if you wanted. It could be a portrait oriented card opening, which way you prefer. And there's lots of different ways to kind of customize this to make it your own. But the fun fold aspect of it is really simple to do. As I mentioned, you just want to start with whatever size card you're making, start with that and just cut off your card front. I think it's useful to just cut it directly in half, but you can cut it wherever you feel is most pleasing to your eyes. And what that will mean is that what's normally the inside of your card is going to be visible. So what I've done is I lined what would normally be the inside of my card with one of the pattern papers, and half of that's going to be visible when the card is closed. And so whatever pattern paper you choose to use, just make sure that it's something that you want visible on the front. Now that that has been lined, I can glue my mini card on top of that. One of the nice things that I find with working with digital papers is that you can pretty much print off as much as you want. Because if this was like a specialty cardstock or a pattern paper that I was super precious about, I would actually feel compelled to cut out the center of that to save it, because look at how much gets covered by the mini card, especially the size mini card that I chose. But because this is a digital paper pad and I can print off as much as I want or as many sheets as I need, I am not going to go through the effort of actually kind of saving the middle portion of that pattern paper. I'm totally okay gluing right over it. And my idea for this card is I want Santa visible at the beginning when the card is closed, and then once you open up the card, then I want Mrs. Claus to be revealed. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere Santa to the mini card. That'll be the topmost, the outermost flap, so you'll see him first. And whenever I'm working with craft cardstock, I like to use a little bit of liquid adhesive because my craft cardstock is kind of thick, kind of heavy duty, and as well, it's got a very gritty, very porous texture to it, and so sometimes I feel like the dry adhesive doesn't really stick super smoothly onto it. So liquid adhesive definitely helps to make it a little bit more permanent. And then what I'm going to do is attach Mrs. Claus to what would normally be your card front. So that's it. She's going to get attached to the top flap there, the way that my card happens to be oriented. But before I glue her down, just like on the inside of our card, I do want to line that top flap with some pattern paper to start. And you do want to make sure that the pattern paper that you choose goes nicely with that first layer that we glued down, because both of them will be visible at the same time, because there's only half of the card front. And that's one of the things that's kind of cool about this Joy Fold, is that there's lots of space, lots of opportunities to decorate, and lots of different looks that you get as you open these flaps. And technically, I guess if you wanted, you could have Mrs. Claus on the outside first and then have it reveal Santa. But I kind of like it the other way around, because Santa is who we would normally expect to see on a holiday card, on a Christmas card. So it's a nice surprise to see Mrs. Claus. She's kind of the woman behind the man, sort of, and very literally on this card. So what I want to do when I go to adhere her, though, is I want to make sure that I'm only putting adhesive on that top portion where it overlaps with the card front, just that half of a flap on the card front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up Mrs. Claus so that the bottom of that panel lines up nice and straight with the mini card, the fold of the mini card. And I want to make sure that she's completely hidden behind Santa. That way it doesn't spoil the surprise. And I only put adhesive on the back of the panel featuring Mrs. Claus. I only put adhesive on her where it's going to overlap with the top portion of our card front. And that's basically our Joy Fold card pretty complete. Now, I'm going to pick out some sentiments to go on this card. And one of the things that I think is kind of fun with the Joy Fold is because there are the flips and the flaps and opportunities to reveal a different scene, you have multiple different opportunities to put sentiments as well. So if you wanted to like actually have a longer sentiment, like a phrase or something like that, maybe a longer sentiment that's broken down into, you know, different sections so that they get revealed every time you open up a flap. I think that would be really, really fun. So take for instance, if you had the common sentiment, peace, love, and joy, you could, on the panel that is visible first, so with Santa, he could be saying peace, and then you would open him that flap to reveal Mrs. Claus, and she could maybe be holding a sentiment that says love, and then you would open and flip her panel up to reveal the inside of the card, and maybe that's where you would have the last sentiment, joy. So that taken together over as you open up the card and you kind of flip open all of those flaps, you reveal the sentiment one word at a time. So that could be something fun to do. I really like these images just as they are, so I'm not going to even put a sentiment on those panels. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my sentiment on the innermost, basically on the inside of the mini card that we created. And there's still going to be plenty of space to write, you know, handwrite a little message. And you could even, if you wanted, you could even decorate the inside of the mini card more than what I've done as well. So here's a final look at my Joy Fold card. It's a super fun, easy card, but there's a nice little interaction and lots of opportunities to decorate and add some fun reveals and some fun moments. Thanks so much for catching my video today. This is my last one as a design team member for Printable Cuttable Creatables. Big thank you to Kristen and PCC for having me. I'm really looking forward to the new members of the design team and seeing what they create with the amazing digitals and cut files from PCC. Thanks so much, and I hope I see you around on the socials. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.